Hi, my name's Nick, and welcome to episode 2 of Need More Vocals, where I speak to people that are in the New Zealand music industry about the problems that we face as artists and people who work alongside those artists. Today, I have Dominic Whips. Take it away, Dom. Tell us about yourself and what you do, who you are, and what you do in the music industry.
Thanks, Nick. Kia ora, I'm Dom. I'm a audio engineer, session musician, composer, freelance, do whatever people pay me to do in the music industry, which is good, as well as, working on my own creative projects and stuff. Most of my background is in audio engineering, and that's sort of my main hustle at the moment, mixing live shows. I've been playing in bands for a fair few years and just generally a purveyor of the scene, I suppose.
And when did you start? How long have you been in the industry? All that sort of stuff.
I started doing music when I was probably about 12. Started going to local shows when I was 15 or 16, and have been working fairly consistently in the industry for about 4 years now.
And what would be your preferred genre if you were stuck on a desert island for the rest of your life and you had to listen to one genre of music? What would it be?
I guess prog, because it can be like so many things.
It could be 6 songs in one.
Yeah, I'm quite like ADHD. I like things to be changing all the time. And yeah, prog is a genre that speaks to me in that regard, because it's like just, no two bars are the same.
Nice. So this interview series is about facing the problems that we go through as artists, as I mentioned earlier. And we've sort of split the main question up into 3 questions. So the first sort of real question that we're looking for opinions for is, what do you think is the biggest social problem in the New Zealand music industry that you face personally?
I mean, it kind of it ties into obviously like economic issues and stuff, but I think there's a lot of culture around drinking when it comes to music.
Yep.
And that the value of musicians, I guess, is weighed on how many drinks they can sell over the bar, essentially. Which leads to this weird sort of culture of cover bands doing well because all the people coming to see cover bands are coming out for a party night. Originals music suffering because people are not necessarily going out for party vibes when they're going to check out original music, which makes it hard to book venues and stuff and get good turnouts and be sustainable with it. So it's the culture of, I guess, music and substance consumption being so heavily tied together is kind of problematic. And I guess just the culture of, not checking out local bands and not really thinking that local bands are just booze when, they are just as good as any major touring band. They just haven't been seen by people yet.
Do you think that culture is changing as opposed to 20, 30, 40 years ago?
I can't really speak on that. I'm a bit young to have that sort of experience. In the past few years, I've seen it get worse.
Okay.
I feel like people are less inclined to go out to local shows, which I don't necessarily think is purely a social and cultural issue. That definitely ties into a lot of other things. But there is less emphasis on supporting local music. People are way more willing to go and spend $300 on a ticket to go see Foo Fighters at the Sky Stadium than they are to spend to go
10.
and see. Yeah, that's like 20 local shows, right, at $15 a pop. That's so. Yeah, I think there is definitely a difference there.
Cool. And then politically, so obviously we've got a right-wing government in at the time of this filming. It was 2025. What do you think, in your opinion, is the biggest political problem we have currently in the New Zealand music industry?
It's one of those situations where it comes into an economic issue, right, rather than a political one, and the fact that nobody has disposable income to easily go to shows. And I believe that to be in part, large part, due to the government we have in place currently. There have been, some very clear stats showing the economic decline of New Zealand.
We are in recession. Yep.
Since the recent, or since the current government got into power, and I think that in itself is the single largest factor in the suffering of the music industry in New Zealand. Is that just people don't have money to invest, like people can't buy tickets to shows, therefore musicians don't have money coming in to record music, that sort of thing, put stuff out, even put more shows on, right? Like I know a lot of musicians have to dig into their own tight pockets to afford like venue hire and stuff, and that's not because venue hire is extreme or like sound engineer hire is extreme. I would say that. It's because everybody has to, earn enough money to keep going. People are getting paid, like they aren't getting paid too much, that's for sure. And it's just, tight. I guess everybody is tight on money, makes it hard.
Yep. And then that would tie into our economic problem. That would be our biggest economic problem, and that, like you said, the political problems sort of tie into each other. And with the economics of the New Zealand music industry, I mean, obviously our location, we don't have the luxuries of tripping over to Europe. Europe's not an hour train ride away. And our closest place to probably play a show would be Australia, which is 3.5 hours, 4 hours worth of flying. So I think our location seclusion doesn't help us either.
For sure. Yeah, that's an interesting point in the way that it's, I guess the music scene in New Zealand, I've kind of always thought of as more of a charity than an industry, in the fact that it is so small, just due to population size as well.
Yep.
That it is very challenging to have enough like throughput of money to keep things afloat, because things still cost the same. It still costs the same to get a song produced, right? But your potential market to sell tickets to shows to is what, like 1/100th, 1/1000th of like a similar area in the States.
Yes.
So it's one of those things where like, there isn't an easy solution in that regard, because it is just by nature of the scale, it's hard to sustain.
Something that came up in episode 1 with Swizzle was that people just don't buy tickets, especially at the local and sort of that semi-local level. They just rely on door sales a lot of the time. Do you find that to be the case also?
Yeah. My usual prediction when running shows is you can usually expect to do the same amount again on door sales as you do on pre-sales.
Yeah.
Which is pretty rough. Especially for like touring acts, when you've got like a bottom line to meet, and then you like, especially for out of town shows where people don't know you, so they'll just see what they're doing on the night.
Yeah.
it's pretty rough when you've got a bottom line to meet. You've got, you know, $300 of accommodation for your band for the night, and like $200 worth of travel costs and all that. And then you've sold 5 tickets in pre-sales. You know, it's like, do we cancel? Do we not? And then you play the show, and like you fill out the venue because everybody buys on the door, and you're fine. But like you were 1% away from canceling the show because there's just no guarantee, right? It's really risky because that goes the other way many times as well, and it's impossible to know. So I think more pre-sales. Buy tickets.
Buy tickets, people. Yes.
If you're going to go to something, buy a ticket in advance, because it stops you from flaking out on the night, and it also, you know, gives the people who are putting money into it confidence that they're not just like wasting everything and that they need to cancel.
Yes. You preach to the choir there. All right. So if you could pick one big problem, and in a perfect world, you become king of New Zealand, and you get all the power to fix one problem in the New Zealand music industry, what would you do?
Legally obligated to go to one local show a week. Nah, maybe a month.
Maybe a month. Yeah.
Just get people checking out the local scene. I think that is the single best way to like fix, well, not necessarily fix, but support the New Zealand music industry. I'm no economist, so I can't just be like, go and give everyone money to go to shows. But if more people just like came out to shows, then you'd get more people engaging with New Zealand music. You know, you get way more people buying bands merch, listening to their stuff online, that sort of thing. Like, the local scene's sick. New Zealand music is super cool, and a lot of New Zealanders just don't realize that. So yeah, that'll be my one thing is by decree of King Dom, you must go to one local show a month.
All right. That was episode 2 of Need More Vocals. Thank you to King Dom. And
cheers, Nick. Thanks for having me. It was good fun.
And check out more episodes coming up soon.